Alrighty, everybody. Good morning. It is Thursday, September 21st, and we're going to get started here with our review for yesterday so we can jump into this morning's pre-market. As you guys can see, the market is just tanking. And yesterday, when we came into the pre-market, and I'm going to go ahead and pull up these higher time frames, we were talking about seeing not that much for the bulls off the low of the day before. Remember, we didn't have a whole confluence of signals, which made it harder for me to have confidence that we would have some type of bigger bullish rotation. But we did have that wick on the daily, right? This is the candlestick that we saw from the day before that looked like it could be a potential bullish clue. And we had the 4-hour bullish signal with the hammer down below as well. So we had some clues that maybe there would be an attempt to bounce, but I was also not confident enough because everything wasn't truly aligning. So we expected there to be a bullish push. Unfortunately, that was extremely short-lived, and actually the market went ahead and carried nearly to the tick off our first expected resistance zone. So just like on Tuesday of this week, where we marked the charts with our expected resistance zone and the market sold off to the tick off of it, yesterday the market came up right to our scaffolding level and went ahead and sold off. So let's look at what happened here in a little bit more detail. And we're going to go ahead and jump up to the open from yesterday. So give me a second here. And as you can see, so in the overnight session, there is the scaffolding. We talked about this right when we were doing our pre-market, right? We opened the pre-market around 8 a.m. here, Central Time, and came right into this as we were looking at the charts, and then that was it. If you would have sold that resistance zone, the market sold off from there. And if you were a little bit of a bull, given that I did tell you guys that we did have a couple clues for a potential bounce, given the candlestick patterns, given that the 4-hour did have a signal. Again, we didn't have a daily signal. We didn't have an hourly signal. We only had a 4-hour signal, and that's why it was just a little hard for me to give you real confidence in a major bullish push. I told you it was possible. So if you were looking to be a bull, we did bounce one tick in front of VWAP. Fortunately, did not hit it to the tick or anything like that or peek into it. So if you missed that, I'm sorry. You could have probably ended up buying the back or the top end of our retracement area to expect this bounce. But as you can see, double top. So this is the double top of the morning here after the market opened. We tried to hold the retracement level again, and then that was it. We actually ended up holding, excuse me, there's your crossover. And then we started holding the back end of that retracement nearly to the tick here, and the market began its race lower, right? So there was a great opportunity as we were rejecting. Notice what happened here. I tell you about these stair-step patterns that happen all the time. We had hit off of our scaffolding nearly to the tick. Then the market got down below the retracement area, held that nearly to the tick. Then we got down below our next roadmap level, the VWAP, held that nearly to the tick, right? Then we got down below the holy orange power level, held that nearly to the tick, came down lower, and then we held the back end of the 50% level. And then this was where it got a little tricky because it did kind of get a little bullish push. So we did come up through, but still beautiful opportunity right off the 200 moving average a couple times. And then they came up, I think, I was going to say into the VWAP here, but it was just a shy peek through. And then continued on its merry way lower. So it took a little bit of time there. This is where you can get a little messed up, where you're expecting to be a bear and you're selling and selling, and then it kind of pops and then goes sideways for a little bit. But again, another parry off VWAP to the tick there. And then we held the back end of the 50% area like earlier, and the 200 to continue lower. So there were some decent opportunities to jump in once the market showed its face, and we got rejection again to the tick off our scaffolding, got down below VWAP, and then started to break down below the holy orange power level here, and then down through 50% of the day before. These were clues that you should have started to recognize that the bulls were losing steam and it was time to get short, right? So that was the whole day. Huge sell-off. Again, I think it's a great teaching lesson here that coming into the open, we didn't have a strong alignment of bullish signals. We just had some things we could interpret, but we didn't have the hourly, 4-hour, daily all giving a signal for a bullish push. So the pop that happened from yesterday's low was basically as much as we were going to get from those clues, and then the failure happened. So another great kind of example of why I rely on my signals, and if I don't have an alignment between those, specifically those 3 time frames, typically we don't get the rotation, the rotational move. So coming into the overnight session, the rally lower is continuing here. And let's go ahead and zoom in and take a look. There is your hold off the back end of VWAP shortly after the Globex open yesterday. In fact, it held it once, and then they had to peek through up into the close of the day before and continue rallying lower, and again holding the back end of VWAP all night, right? So couldn't get through the average price, held the 200 nearly to the tick, and then some nice holds off the FMA down to where we are right now. So that concludes our review. And by the way, right off the 200 here, I am short. I'm going to be getting my 5-point target here if we get this pullback. If not, I might have to accept a stop out on this trade. But so far, a really nice pullback right off of there. And I am just about 4 points in the money. We'll see if we can get down to 44.09 here and get my first target. And then, of course, I've got some more contracts on to come down into some of these other areas. So beautiful hold there off the 200. And let's go ahead and get into our pre-market prep here for this morning.